What is up, YouTube? It is Joker777 and I'm back with another review for you guys, and this time it is for none other than this week's biggest new opener, Divergent. Now, Divergent, for those of you that don't know, is the newest youth adult novel to film adaptation, and it all revolves around this girl named Triss. Triss lives in a post-apocalyptic world, and she lives in Chicago. And in this world, there are 5 factions. You have your smart and brainy people, which are erudite. I'm not going to try and remember all the names just because they're kind of hard to remember. You have your farmers, you have your lawyers, you have your soldiers or your warriors and military and all that, and then of course you have abnegation, which is where Triss starts at. And these are basically like your missionary people. These are the guys who basically go out and they do good in the community. And then you have the faction list, and these are basically the homeless, people. These are basically people who've been outcast. On a certain day, I think it's when the children turn either 16 or 18, they go and they take this test. And this test basically tells them what faction they should belong to. And so she takes the test and finds out she doesn't belong to any one faction. She is what this thing is called, divergent, meaning she doesn't belong to any faction. She doesn't conform to the ways of society the way other people do. She's different. And people hate people hate divergent people because they don't conform, and they're quote unquote dangerous. Nonetheless, at her choosing day, she actually chooses to go with Dauntless, and lo and behold, we have our story. Going into this movie, I didn't exactly have high expectations just because these films, besides the Hunger Games for me, these films are okay. They're not the greatest thing ever, but I was quite surprised by this film, actually. I had a great time with this film. Were there some problems? Yes, but the problems were not outweighed by the benefits of this movie. The first thing I have to talk about before I talk about the acting or the directing or the writing is the music. I loved the music in this movie. This music played up the movie so well, and it brought so much more depth to these scenes. Whenever I see Hans Zimmer's name come up, and he was the executive score producer for this film, whenever I see his name come up, I know it's going to be a good, I know my ears are going to enjoy the trip. Everything that Hans Zimmer does is just, it connects with me, and I don't know why. Hans Zimmer actually does not do the actual music for this. Rather, it's this guy by the name of Junkie XL. He provides most of the music for this. And everything that he does for these scenes is perfect. Like, it plays up so many scenes. Like, for example, the zip line scene. One of my favorite scenes from that movie, and simply because the music just made it so much better. It really brought out the feeling for that particular scene. The next thing we're going to talk about is the acting. Shailene Woodley absolutely owns this role as Triss. She's amazing as it. And I haven't really seen her too much. The Secret Life of American Teenager, I watched maybe 2 episodes of that, and she wasn't all that great in there, but she really came into this role. She was a very strong lead character. I loved watching her go through the training sequences because she went from this kind of weak, small-minded, abnegation girl into this fierce warrior, this dauntless warrior, this person who could snap your neck in 2 seconds. I really liked that whenever they showed her transitioning from this almost kind of weak girl to this now strong warrior who you really don't want to mess with. Theo James does an okay job as Four. I think this story is more or less focused on Triss versus him. The one thing I did like is the relationship. I felt the chemistry that was on screen between these two as it was in the book. They did it so it was just right. It wasn't too overblown. It wasn't overly romanticized like some of these other movies do. It was actually very well done. I applaud them for making the relationship work as well as they did. Kate Winslet is in this movie for some reason. I don't know why. And it's not to say that Kate Winslet is like a bad actress, because she's a great actress. She's been great in everything except for movie 43, but we're not going to talk about that. And you can tell she was made to be brung in to be like the main antagonist, to give Shailene Woodley someone to fight and to bounce off with and act with. But her character can't really do anything. They don't really give her anything to do. It's like she just walks in, she says a couple things, and then she's gone. So hopefully they utilize her more in the second one. And I know the second one is going to happen. I'm pretty sure that the trilogy has already been set in stone. Courtney's in this, and I'm going to have to give him credit. Courtney for me is just one of those actors that I don't necessarily like, but he did okay in this film. And I don't know if I should feel happy about that. I guess I can, because he made the movie better, but I don't know. Courtney's just one of those actors where I don't really like him, but then again, like I said, I have to give him credit. He did a really good job in this role. The one downside for this film, it is a little bit too long. It's about 2.5 hours. It does kind of drag in some spots. It's a very, very long film. And I get why they did it. They had to be as faithful as they could to the book. There was also just a tiny bit of shaky cam. Now, I went and seen it with my friends, and I noticed the camera shaking a little bit. They said they didn't really see it, so maybe it was the angle at which we were sitting at. We were actually sitting down like the front row, the forbidden zone, which is what I call it. But for them, they didn't really see it. I kind of saw it a little bit, especially in the ending fight sequences, but it's not overblown. It's not really over the top. And that's, you know, if you're going to use shaky cam, use it just a little bit. From what I've seen, Neil Berger definitely did not go over the limit with this. All in all, I had a pretty good time with this film. It was definitely a surprise for me. Like I said, I was going in with low expectations, but the music definitely blew me away. The acting was great. I like the relationship that Trish and Four had, the way they portrayed it in this film. It was a tiny bit long for me. I mean, 2.5 hours, really. And they did cut some stuff out that I kind of would like to see. For example, and I know any of you who have read the book will know what I mean when I say this. Fork in the eye. But I can't really discredit the film for that. It's a very well done film, and I think that your preteens are going to love it, your teenagers are going to love it. Anyone, if you've read the book and you liked it, you're going to like this movie. And for that, I'm going to give Divergent a B. I think it's a very well done film. The acting and the music is great. The relationship is really well felt. It's a little bit on the longer side, but what can you expect? So, Divergent, have you guys seen it? Let me know down below in the comments section. I would be more than happy to read your reviews, as well as review this review. Review this review. Yes, it's Reviewception. Be sure to hit like and subscribe for more content. I got plenty more coming, including my first game review. I'm excited to tackle that. I probably should have chosen a less controversial game to review for my first one, but them's the breaks, kid. Guys, until I see you next time, I'm Joker777, and I'll see you guys later.